breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got a superb podcast for you guys. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by Andrew Caley. He does great work over at Covers, taking a look at this great game of baseball. We're going to get his thoughts on what we've all seen out of the Toronto Blue Jays to begin the season, as they got a really nice start on Wednesday from Yusei Kikuchi. Just the wild American League East. We're now nearly a month through the season, so what to make out of the sample size right now? What is a little bit overreactionary? What is more of a, shall we say, appropriate reaction to what we've been seeing here early on during the season? And we're going to be diving into some of the games that we are going to be getting on Wednesday. Then in the final segment, going to give you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Thursday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways to be able to those in. First one is my Twitter timeline at GNet_D1. Keep in mind, letters M. Name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via the 5-star review. Really did not get in any Twitter questions today, but we've got the West Coast games from Tuesday to clean up, and we had a nice day of baseball on Wednesday, so let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Kansas City Royals were able to get it done on Tuesday. You're going to find out on Wednesday it was not so great, but they won on Tuesday by a count of 5-4 with Brady Singer having the Diamondbacks singing the blues, giving up 1 run in 6 innings. From there, things got a little bit hairy in the bullpen. Aroldis Chapman gives up 2 runs, one of which was earned while getting just 1 out, so Scott Barlow had to come on for a 5-out save, going scoreless in those 5 outs. Taylor Clark allowed a run as well, but for the Royals, they went 3 of 8 with men in scoring position, 14 hits in total, as Ryan Nelson, not a good start, gives up 4 runs over the course of 5 innings, giving up 11 hits along the way. Jose Ruiz, 2 scoreless innings, Kevin Ginkel, a scoreless inning, and Anthony Machevich, he allowed a run and an inning, and for the Arizona Diamondbacks, 1 of 12 with men in scoring position. They scored a bit less on Wednesday, but they were able to get to the window, 2-0 the final, as Zach Gallen, 4th straight start in which he doesn't allow a single run. He has went in these combined starts 27 innings in that time span, 41 strikeouts to 1 walk. He was masterful again. Gave up 4 hits, punched out 12, no walks in 6 1/3 innings. From there, Miguel Castro, Andrew Chafin, both led a scoreless inning, and Scott McGough was able to give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen. And for Kansas City, Ryan Yarbrough gives up 1 run in 4 innings. He didn't expect a lot of length, and bullpen didn't do a bad job. Josh Shamount, Josh Taylor, Jose Cuas all provide a scoreless inning. Amir Garrett gives up a run in an inning, but nothing doing for the Kansas City Royals offense, so the Diamondbacks were able to get that one done. No idea how the DK Nation pick did as of right now, because I have to have this up by midnight Pacific time, and I've got the Greg Peterson experience from midnight to 3 Eastern, so I have to record this before knowing what we got in Giants versus Cardinals for Wednesday. But on Tuesday, it was a walk-off dong for the San Francisco Giants as they got the win by a count of 5-4, as Blake Sabo was the hero in this one, going deep in the 9th inning off of Ryan Elsley, who gave up 3 runs at 2/3 of an inning, and this wasted a relatively good start for Jake Woodford. The Woodford goes 2 runs in 5 1/3 innings, with Mike Yastrzemski getting his 5th home run of the season off of him, and it was a wholesale approach for the San Francisco Giants. Scott Alexander, he was the letdown on the bullpen, gave up 3 runs in 1/3 of an inning. Camilo Udval had to pick up a few outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Sean Helgelet was able to give you a scoreless inning. You did have Sean Manaea give up a home run in his 1 1/3 innings. He has been just completely useless for this team, as Tommy Emden got his 4th home run of the season. And for the Cardinals, he also did have Giovanni Gallegos give a scoreless inning. Genesis Cabrera, 1 2/3 innings scoreless. But how about John Brebbia, Tyler Rogers, both giving you 1 1/3 innings scoreless? You had the other Rogers give you 2 innings scoreless, and then Jacob Junis lent a scoreless inning. So bullpen game worked out for the San Francisco Giants on Tuesday, and what else worked out was the Angels run line on Tuesday. They took down the Oakland A's by a count of 5-3. Bullpen got it through their skulls that they needed to do a little bit better, as Matt Moore, Carlos Aceves combined for 3 scoreless innings, and Aaron Loop scoreless inning. Griffin Canning did allow 3 runs in 5 innings, including a home run to Shea Langeliers, who got home run number 5 of the season, but young Mason Miller got lit up, giving up 4 runs over the course of 4 innings. Bullpen from there wasn't bad. Sammy Long, 2 scoreless innings. Richard Lovelady, scoreless inning. And Adam Muller gives up a run in an inning as the LA Angels go 4 of 8 with men in scoring position to be able to get that one done. And as of right now, for the Wednesday game, just getting going in the second inning, and the Angels already have 4 runs up with 1 out in the bottom of the second inning. It looks like it's going to be a very long day for our good friend making his MLB debut at Luis Medina, so not too terrific there. But for the Milwaukee Brewers, things were terrific on Wednesday. They took down the Detroit Tigers by a count of 6-2, as for the Tigres, not a lot doing on offense as Michael Lorenzen got lit up, giving up 5 runs over the course of 5 innings, including a home run as Victor Carantini took him deep for his home run season, and Joey Weimer gets his second home run in the campaign. That comes off of Tyler Holton, who gave up that home run in 2 innings. Will Vest, scoreless inning, but for Freddie Peralta, he came out and he had a very good effort. 2 unearned runs given up in 6 innings was hurt by a Brian Anderson fielding error. From there, Peter Strzelecki, along with Hobie Milner, Bryce Wilson, they'll get a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Devin Williams, he cleans up the 9th scoreless. For the Tampa Bay Rays, they have experienced back-to-back losses for the second time this year. The Houston Astros get it done 1-0 as Wander Franco had an error that scored a run in the first inning, and that was the lone scoring in this game. Hunter Brown was terrific. 2 hits and 2 walks in 7 scoreless innings. Hector Neris, Ryan Presley closed the door with a scoreless 8th and 9th inning. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, Kelvin Fauché, he came in, gave up that 1 run over the course of 2 innings. From there, Josh Fleming, the bulk guy, 6 scoreless innings, got a scoreless inning out of Zach Birdie, but nothing doing for the Rays, just 2 hits in this one. So a very good effort there. The Washington Nationals take down the New York Mets by a count of 4-1 as Mackenzie Gore. He continues to be rock solid for the Washington Nationals. 10 punch-outs, 1 run allowed in 6 innings. Carl Edwards Jr., Hunter Harvey, they combined for 2 scoreless innings, and Kyle Finnegan, a scoreless inning. Jameer Candelario able to provide the boom for the Nationals. 4th home run season. Nobody else on the Nationals has more than 2, by the way. That came off of Jeff Brigham out of the bullpen, who gave up that home run in 1 2/3 innings. You did have Adam Montevino give up a run in an inning as well before Brooks Raley, David Robertson. They combined for 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Kodai Senga, not a great start, not a bad start. He did give up 4 walks, but gave up just 2 runs over the course of 5 innings. But offense didn't help him out. 1 of 8 with men in scoring position with a combined 4 hits and 3 errors for the New York Metropolitans. The Philadelphia Phillies get into that Seattle bullpen, and they come back from a 5-2 deficit to win by a count of 6-5. As for the Philadelphia Phillies, they were able to get a deep ball here from Nick Castellanos. There must have been some sort of unfortunate event that led to this, as he got his 3rd home run of the season, as that comes off of Logan Gilbert. Gilbert gives up 4 runs over the course of 5 innings. From there, Justin Topa gets no outs out of the bullpen, gives up 4 hits without getting a single out, gives up 2 runs, and that proved to be the difference as Trevor Gott, Gabe Spear, they combined for 2 scoreless innings. Ben Murphy, a scoreless inning, and he did get a pair of home runs for Seattle. Julio Rodriguez, his 5th home run season off of Taijuan Walker, and J.P. Crawford, 2nd home run season off of Walker, as Walker gives up all 5 runs over the course of 4 innings, as all 5 actually came in the 2nd inning. And then from there, bullpen did their parts for Anthony Dominguez, Craig Kimbrell, along with Jose Alvarado. They all pitch a scoreless inning and all get a pair of punch-outs along the way, and Luis Ortiz was able to land 2 scoreless innings. The return of Sandy Alcantara was rudely interrupted by an Atlanta Braves 4 spot in the 8th inning. 6-4, the Atlanta Braves get it done. Sandy looked relatively solid. You could tell that he was on a little bit more of a tight pitch count. Gives up 2 runs in 5 2/3 innings, including a home run going deep. For the Atlanta Braves was Ronald Acuna Jr., 4th home run of the season. Then Dylan Floro yacked this game away. Matt Olson gets his 7th home run of the campaign. That comes off of Dylan Floro. Gave up 4 runs, 3 of which were earned in a 1/3 of an inning. Uskar Blazobin gives you 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Andrew Nardi, pair of outside the bullpen as well. And for the Atlanta Braves, how about Bryce Elder? He gives up 3 home runs over the course of 4 innings after he entered in with a sub-2 ERA, as going deep off of him. Mauricio Garcia, 3rd home run of the season. Jesus Sanchez, his 1st. Jazz Chisholm, his 5th. So that was not so great, but the bullpen of the Atlanta Braves had his back. AJ Minter, a scoreless inning. Michael Tonkin, 2 2/3 innings scoreless. He's turned into a really nice long guy. Pittsburgh Pirates, they currently lead the National League Central. 17-8 start for them. They dump truck the LA Dodgers by a count of 8-1. Tony Gonsolin, first start back. You figured he wasn't going to be long for this one, and he was not. 3 1/3 innings scoreless, did walk 3, but he kept it clean, and then from there, the bullpen was not great. Yancy Almonte got 4 outs, and he gave up 4 runs. Justin Brule, he gives up a run in an inning. Alex Vesia, 1 1/3 innings, he allows a run, and Phil Bickford gives up 2 runs in his inning of work. Lone form of offense for the Dodgers. They got a home run from Freddie Freeman in the 8th inning off of Jordi Barreta, his 4th of the campaign, as Oronci Contreras, 6 scoreless innings. Robert Stevenson a scoreless inning, and Moreta gives up that solo home run over the course of his 2 innings. So Dodgers are 13-12, and the Pirates are 17-8. I do not know what universe I am living in, but it certainly is wild and crazy. What else is wild and crazy is that the Yankees are right now the top under team in all of baseball. This was, I believe, just their 9th over of the season, 12-6. They take down the Minnesota Twins. As for Gleyber Torres, he got the lone home run of the game in this 12-run effort for the Yankees, his 3rd of the campaign. As for the Minnesota Twins, Kenta Maeda got completely lit up. He goes 3 innings and he gives up 10 runs, all of which were earned. Brent Hedrick, he was the man that gave up that Torres home run, game on in long relief, gave up 2 runs in 5 innings, so he did his part. Emilio Pagan, scoreless inning, and for the Twins, they got a trio of home runs themselves. Jose Miranda, his first 2 home runs of the campaign, those both come off of Domingo Germán, and Germán also gives one up to Joey Gallo's 7th. Good news is for Germán, he didn't have to wash his hands as much in this game. Bad news, he gave up 6 runs in 6 innings, but still picks up the win while giving up 3 home runs. Ian Hamilton, 2 scoreless innings. Clay Holmes, a scoreless inning for a Yankees team that currently has a top bullpen ERA in the big leagues. You saw the Baltimore Orioles take down the Boston Red Sox by a count of 6-2. Lone game in this series that has not gone over the total, as you saw for Boston, them go 1 of 7 with men in scoring position. Masataka Yoshida, he provided a home run in the 2nd inning off of Tyler Wells, his 4th of the season. From there, Wells would settle down, giving up those 2 runs over the course of 5 2/3 innings. Danny Columbi, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Yunier Cano, don't you know he was able to give you 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Felix Matissa, scoreless inning for the Baltimore Orioles. No deep balls, but they did a good job of getting to Tanner Houck. Death by a million cuts, 4 runs, 3 which were earned, surrendered in 5 innings for Houck. You had Richard Blyer and John Schreiber both give up a run in an inning, and you had a scoreless inning out of Brennan Bernardino. So that's how that one stayed under. The Cincinnati Reds, they continue the demise of the Texas Rangers, as the Rangers entered into this series, one of the top teams in the American League, and they get swept 5-3. The Reds are able to get this one done. As for the Reds, Graham Ashcraft was not a load of Ashcraft. He gives up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings. From there, Alex Young, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Ian Gabo to give up a run in 2/3 of an inning, but Lucas Sims comes in. He's able to pitch a scoreless inning, and he gets a win. As for the Cincinnati Reds, it was a walk-off winner for Nick Senzel. First home run of the season. That comes off of one Jonathan Hernandez, who came into the game, got no outs, and allowed the walk-off homer for John Gray. Not a terrible start, not a great start. 3 runs surrendered at 6 innings, and Josh Saboris was able to lend 2 innings of support scoreless. The Chicago White Sox just continue to stink it up. We're going to talk about this in segment number 2 with our good friend Andrew Caley, as the Toronto Blue Jays got an 8-0 win with Yusei Kikuchi just absolutely dealing in this one. 5 2/3 innings scoreless, 8 punch-outs, 1 walk. Eric Swanson, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Amy Garcia, Trevor Richards, they clean up those final 2 innings scoreless, and Bo Bichette, he goes a yard off of Jimmy Lambert for his 5th home run of the season. Michael Kopech just continues to be all out of sorts, giving up 4 runs over the course of 5 innings. From there, Lambert gives up that home run, 3 runs in total in 1 2/3 innings. Keenan Middleton gave you an out of the bullpen, and then you had Gregory Santos give up 1 unearned run in his inning of work. I believe that he is the only bullpen piece of the Chicago White Sox with a sub-3 ERA. And the Cleveland Guardians were able to get back on track. They get a 4-1 win in the debut of young Tanner Bibby, as Mr. Bibby goes 5 2/3 innings, giving up 1 run, punching out 8. He looked really good. Trevor Seaver and Emmanuel Clase, they both give you a scoreless inning, and Eli Morgan 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Josh Naylor becomes the first player on the Guardians to 3 home runs. He gets that home run in the first off of Herman Marquez, who went 3 2/3 innings, fresh off the injured list, giving up that home run. And from there, the bullpen actually did their part. You had Jake Bird, Daniel Bard, both 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Brad Hand, he gives up a run in his inning of work. Pierce Johnson does land a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Doing this as we're heading into the bottom of the 9th. Looks like the Padres are going to be able to pull this one out by a count of 5-3, though if this comes back on the podcast and the Chicago Cubs are able to get to Josh Hader, I will gladly be proven wrong there. But for the Padres, they go 3 of 10 with men in scoring position. Michael Wacha, not necessarily the greatest start, not the worst start in the world, gives up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings, as you had Trey Boomer Mancini go deep off of him, his third home run season, and Drew Smyly wasn't a perfect game effort, but it wasn't a bad effort. He put himself in a position to win. 2 runs surrendered over the course of 5 innings. Bullpen from there yacked this one up. Julian Merriweather and Edber Alzolay both give up a run in their inning of work. Brendan Hughes gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Michael Rucker gets an out of the bullpen scoreless, and Brad Boxberger scoreless inning for the Padres. Got 3 innings scoreless out of Nick Martinez, And now you've got Josh Hader on to try to close this one out. And we're going to look to close out this segment by giving you guys some interesting information as to what we're seeing in baseball right now. And we are seeing a pretty even split in terms of overs and unders. This is something we're going to talk about with Andrew Caley in the next segment as well. It covers 177 overs and 175 unders. So 50.3% hit rate to the over. Favorites, they continue to be rock solid this year. 223 and 143 straight up. That is a 60.9% hit rate. We have seen 53 favorites win outright, but win by only 1 run to not cover the run line. And you take a look at the last 7 days in Major League Baseball. Favorites are 52 and 36 with a few games pending for Wednesday, but favorites have had 14 of those that win outright, not be able to cover the run line. And over the last 7 days in Major League Baseball, 49 unders to 35 overs. That is a 58.3% hit rate to the under. So that's what we're seeing right now in Major League Baseball, and that's what we all got on Wednesday. Coming up next, we talk with our good friend Andrew Caley of Covers. He does an amazing job north of the border. We're going to be talking a little bit about the start to the season we've seen for the Toronto Blue Jays, what to make out of some of these fast and slow starts in general, and what he's taking a look at for Thursday. Next, right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Are you ready to become a winning sports bettor? Schedule a call with SBIA to find out how their service can make you a long-term winning player. They've developed an innovative algorithm that maximizes units return, and they are so confident in their system that they offer a money-back guarantee. Sign up by October 31st and get their MBA package at no cost until they reach 10 net units. They treat sports betting like a business. So if you want to learn how to make your sports betting dreams a reality, visit them at SBIA1.com and check them out on social media at SBIA Sports.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is great to be joined by this man, as Andrew Caley does absolutely tremendous work over at Covers. The man does a little bit of everything. You want football, basketball, baseball, what have you. He is able to do a great job of providing some insights on all of it, and you're able to follow him on Twitter at @covers_Caley. And if you're a fan of the Toronto Blue Jays, you always get his bat flip and pick of the day as well. And Andrew, it's always great to have you aboard. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun doing these bat flip and picks again every day. And the Jays have been kind of a fun team through the first, after that tough little opening weekend. They've really turned things around the last 20 games or so.
Yes, they certainly have. And Andrew, I want you to dive into that because they're coming off of a series against the Chicago White Sox, which, if you want a headline, I didn't think that the White Sox were going to be amazing this year, but 7-18 for the Chicago White Sox. Absolute yuck right there. But for the Blue Jays, back-to-back really good starts out of Jose Barrios and Yusei Kikuchi. Still have my question marks with Barrios, but I think it's been very encouraging what you've seen out of these two starters because I really feel like they were the biggest question mark for the Blue Jays entering into the season.
100%. Everybody knows that if those guys were pitching their best, then that rotation is one of the better in baseball. And if they're at their worst, then you have a lot of question marks around it, like they did last year. And the last 2 times around the rotation for both of them, it's been really, really encouraging. I'd say Kikuchi is the best story sort of thing. This season they went in, they worked on his mechanics, they worked on his delivery. I think he's one of these few pitchers out there who the pitch clock is actually helping. He doesn't have to think about the pitches that are being selected. He's just letting Danny Jansen call the game for the most part, and he's just up there throwing. It's worked out. Obviously, his last start against the White Sox on Wednesday, that team is just a disaster right now after watching them play. I saw them, like, they have issues when it comes to errors in the outfield, like Jimenez trying to call off Robert out in the outfield. They almost collided like 3 or 4 times in a game on Tuesday, and then nobody's hitting well, and they've got injuries, of course, to Tim Anderson and Yohan Moncada as well. Like, it's just a mess for that team. But the Jays did what they needed to do, and they took care of business. They've now pitched 8 consecutive games where their starter has pitched at least into the 6th inning, at least 5 2/3 innings. And over that stretch of 8 games, those starters have given up just 5 runs. So that's going to help you win some ball games. Unfortunately, everybody else in the American League East is winning a lot of ball games this year. It's going to be a heck of a fight for that division right now. Jays are 16-9 and have won 15 of their last 20 games. and they are in third place and 4.5 games behind the Rays for first, and it's still a half game behind the Orioles for second right now. And the Yankees are right on their tail. And the last place team, the Boston Red Sox, 13-13, which would be good for second place in, I don't know, half of the other divisions in baseball right now. The American League East is just going to be a beast all season long.
Yep, you mentioned it with the Boston Red Sox. They're 8 games out of first place at 13-13. To put this into perspective, the Kansas City Royals are 8 games out of first place in the Central. They're 6-19. So that shows you the divide that we've got in the AL East right now. And Andrew, what have you made out of this hot start for the Tampa Bay Rays? Because as of right now, we don't know how the Tampa Bay Rays were able to fare on Wednesday against the Houston Astros, but it's been absolutely historic, and I hate to be that guy, but at some point the Tampa Bay Rays are going to fall back to earth. It might be happening right now as you listen to this, but I just take a look at the Tampa Bay Rays, and it's the big question that I have is what's going to happen once this hot start does fade away, because at some point things are going to level out a little bit, but no doubt it's been an impressive start to the season.
It's certainly impressive. Anytime you can win 20 of your first 24 games in a baseball season, it's an incredible stat. They're obviously playing very well, lead the league in batting average and OPS and all this stuff, but they lost recently to Houston. They lost the series to the Blue Jays. I don't want to say their schedule has been easy because it's a baseball schedule and anyone can win on a given day sort of thing, and they've obviously taken care of business, but they've played the Chicago White Sox a bunch, the Cincinnati Reds as well, and the Oakland A's and the Detroit Tigers. It's been a lot of that for the Rays, and like I said, they've taken care of business, and the pitching's great. Shane McClanahan looks great, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out once the tedier part of their schedule kind of gets there and they start playing the American League East teams with more regularity.
I'm going to be very intrigued to see that as well, because this division, it is just a complete bear. As joining me on the podcast, we do have Andrew Caley, who does amazing work over at Covers. And Andrew, how have you been gauging totals thus far this season? Because we noticed in the first 2 weeks of the season that the unders were very prevalent, but we've been seeing it. Last 7 days, it's been a return on the unders. As a matter of fact, I'm on Covers right now looking at the last 7 days. This is with a few games pending for Wednesday, but for the last 7 days, about 59.5% of games have gone under the total, and it's what we see, in my opinion, in baseball just throughout the seasons. Typically, you'll see a run on overs, and then you'll see a run on unders. What order that's in, it can be flip-flopped a little bit, but I always think that in baseball, when you see like a good 1-2 week run on like overs or unders, taking the opposite the next week typically proves to be relatively profitable. We've been seeing that thus far this season.
I'll just say that sportsbooks and odds makers are just really good at their jobs. Like you mentioned, like we saw a run on the overs earlier. We obviously saw more stolen bases, and the overall numbers from this season, they're up a little. Like league-wide batting averages are, and OPS up a little. Like there hasn't been like this drastic explosion of scoring sort of thing right now. Like the average runs per game for the team in the MLB is 4.57. Like that, it's much higher than 2022's 4.28. But just in 2021, it was 4.53, and in 2019, it was 4.83. So while these new rules are accelerating the games, which I love, by the way, I love that I can turn on a baseball game and it's actually over in 2.5 hours right now. It's still baseball, and the numbers are kind of lining up with what we've seen in terms of production the last few years. So we're not seeing as much scoring as people maybe had hoped going into the season with these new rules, with the pitch clock and the elimination of the shift. Looking at the totals right now as we're recording this, 174 to the over, 173 to the under so far this season, so 50.1%. It's going to be like this all season. We'll see swings, books will make adjustments, then we'll see a swing back and they'll adjust again. So it's just the way of life in baseball, I would say.
Oh, no question about it. It is the way of life in baseball, and the way of life in baseball is trying to gauge teams that are relatively hot and cold. And we were talking a little bit before about the Chicago White Sox, and I want to get your thoughts on this game because they've got their ace still, and Cece's going to be going to the mound on Thursday against those white-hot Tampa Bay Rays with Shane McClanahan going. And right now we're seeing the Rays as a minus 150 road favorite against the Chicago White Sox. What are your thoughts on this game? Because when it comes to the Tampa Bay Rays, I do think that the books have caught up very well, and they're probably overpricing the Rays a little bit at the same time, even though you might be getting a nice little raise, shall we say, inflation on this side. I just take a look at the Chicago White Sox, and I need more of a plus price in order to take a shot on them. Even with Dylan Cease going, it's just been a really, really bad situation in Chicago.
I want to take the White Sox here just because you're getting Dylan Cease at plus money like this, plus 130 kind of range right now. And you're like, oh, that's great. Even though it's the Rays, like a great ace pitcher can come through on any kind of day sort of thing like that. But I don't know. Like I said, I watched almost every inning of this series up against the Blue Jays, and they just look like a team that's lost right now. Defense isn't there. The pitching isn't there. This used to be a team that crushed left-handed pitching, and this year they are hitting just .214 against lefties, and now they're going up against one of the toughest in baseball in Shane McClanahan. Maybe I'd look towards the Rays on the run line because it's just been that bad of a situation for the White Sox right now. And even Dylan Cease, like, he's a very great starter, and he can rack up strikeouts, and he can pitch deep into this game, but his last start was against the Rays, and he lasted just 4 innings, giving up 6 hits and 3 earned runs. So the Rays are getting to everyone right now. After watching them play the way they played this last series against the Blue Jays, I just can't have any faith in backing them. So don't like the price like that, I said, on the Rays. So I'd probably maybe even look at them on the run line, like I said.
Yeah, it's a really rough state of affairs for them, as Andrew Caley does amazing work at Covers is joining me on the podcast. And what has also been a rough state of affairs, the San Diego Padres offense. They're currently at the bottom of the National League in terms of batting average. Juan Soto's not been living up to his billing. Manny Machado's off to a rough start to the season. They get back Fernando Tatis Jr., but as expected, Fernando Tatis Jr. has not looked like himself quite yet. That'll happen when you spend a full year plus away from the game, and they're going up against the Chicago Cubs, who have Hayden Wesneski on the mound, and I'm seeing the Cubs as a home underdog, anywhere between a plus 115 to a plus 125. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on this game, but being able to get the Cubs in a day game, which is going to be a body clock game, 11:20 a.m. Pacific time first pitch for the San Diego Padres, this feels like a really good spot to be able to take a plus money underdog.
I couldn't agree more with you there. You hit the nail on the head there with the struggling Padres offense right now, 27th in scoring right now, 30th in batting average, 24th in OPS, and this Cubs pitching staff has been, if you had told me at the beginning of the season that staff together would have the second lowest opponent batting average and they'd rank 5th in team ERA, I probably wouldn't have believed you, but that's exactly what's happening right now. And the offense has been good too. Cody Bellinger has been playing much better than the Cody Bellinger we've been seeing in the past. Nico Horner's been great, and Happ's having a great season as well. Like you said, there's something that looks off with the Padres right now, and I really like the home dogs in this spot.
Yes, I do as well. I thought that was something that really jumped out to me, and we are at about the 1 month point of the season, and we have seen things like the San Diego Padres not being able to save their lives. And what do you make out of some of these, shall we say, surprising outliers like the San Diego Padres not being able to generate offense, the Pittsburgh Pirates having a record well above 500, and things of this nature? Because I do think that we don't want to be completely tossing out the first month of the season. At the same time, I do think that when it's all said and done, the Padres are not going to be 27th in terms of offense, and the Pittsburgh Pirates are not going to win north of 60% of their games.
If the Pirates win north of 60% of their games, I would have got that completely wrong, and I don't know what I'll do. They're still a very young team. I think they kind of level off a little bit here. Like you said, you don't want to say that the first month of the season means nothing, but it doesn't take much for a team to get off to a hot start or a cold start, respectively. Like, I don't expect the St. Louis Cardinals to sit at the bottom of that division all season long. The same going for the Dodgers right now. They're 13-11, despite the fact that they're only hitting home runs right now. Once they start hitting for a little better average, you think they're going to start winning a few more games there as well. Another team that I think is a little surprising is the Texas Rangers. It's been a good start for them. Obviously, the injury to Corey Seager hurts them. I was on the under on their win total heading into the season. DeGrom has been mostly healthy to this point, which is good. Keep your fingers crossed for that at all times, because it always feels like he's a one pitch away from being on an extended break for them. I'm surprised to see them on top of that division with the Astros. And we were talking about this the other day. The Angels continue to just give away games with their bullpen. Hopefully they can figure it out, because they're in a tight division. It could be another long year for the Angels as well if they don't figure it out. And
I'm so glad that you mentioned the Angels, because they are by far the biggest favorite on the board at minus 285 to minus 295 against the Oakland A's. And I think we're going to see more games with the Oakland A's having these prices moving forward. But what do you make out of the spot like this with JP Sears going for the Oakland A's, Shohei Ohtani going for the Angels? Because even though I am a sucker for big plus money underdogs, I can't get behind the Oakland A's in this spot, but I'm also certainly not going to be laying minus 285 to minus 295, even with it being Shohei Ohtani.
100%. Because it is Shohei, I'd have faith in some Shohei props, I would say. Like, I'll probably go look at his strikeout total or maybe his innings pitched prop bet because he's Shohei and he already has struck out 10 A's in 6 innings against them this year. He's having maybe even his best pitching season so far. He's developed that sweeper into just another devastating weapon for him right now. JP Sears has been okay, not terrible. He hasn't been as terrible as some of the A's other starters, but he pitched pretty well in one start against the Angels last season. Gave up just 2 earned runs and 3 hits over 5 1/3 in a meeting last August. I don't know if he can keep them in a game a bit. It's the type of situation where you'd feel uncomfortable because maybe Ohtani pitches really well and they just don't give him any run support sort of thing because it's the Angels and you never know sort of thing. So like I said, Ohtani strikeouts, innings pitched, I really like him to have a big game, but that just because Ohtani has a big game does not mean that the Angels will win.
Yep, I am right there with you because we have seen this bullpen do a nice job of gas canning some games thus far this season. And Andrew, when it comes to the slate for Thursday, it's a relatively solid one considering it's a gateway day, having 11 games on the card. That's something that you do like to see for Thursday. Any other games that you're taking a look at that we have yet to dive into that pique your interest, whether that be from a betting standpoint or you just want to sit back and watch in general?
I kind of want to watch this Garrett Cole versus Andrew Heaney matchup. I really want to see if Aaron Judge, he left the game, so hopefully he's okay, even though he's a rival of my favorite team. Of course, hate seeing guys go down like that. I think he stayed in the game, but his wrist was clearly bothering him for the remainder of the game, so I don't know what his status is going into Thursday. But Garrett Cole has been one of my favorite guys to watch this year, even though he's a Yankee. That fastball of his has been tremendous again, and I think this might be the year where we finally see him capture that Cy Young Award and a matchup against a Rangers offense that's been outstanding this year. So I think this is a good opportunity to watch to see how good his stuff is. If he can shut down this Rangers team, then you know that Garrett Cole is on a mission this year.
I agree. I do think that Garrett Cole's stuff is looking very good. I do want to see how he's able to fare in this one, but a man whose stuff is even better than that is yours, Andrew. You do amazing work over at Covers. They get a look at everything, football, basketball, you name it, you do it, and you always provide great insights on this podcast. So let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you, and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
You can follow me at Covers_Caley, that's Caley, where I have my daily Blue Jays bat flipping picks of the day, and I still can't believe I took UC Kikuchi to go cash a run line, and it worked. So hopefully that continues going on. We've got some great NFL draft content going up too as well. So you can find that on my Twitter feed and over at Covers.com.
And it cashed really easily as well. The Chicago White Sox scored as many runs as the two of us. So it's something that you absolutely love to see, and something else that you love to see and hear is Andrew Caley on this podcast because he provides absolutely tremendous insights. A big thanks to him for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VC family of podcasts. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Thursday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VC family of podcasts. It is always great to get Andrew Caley aboard. He does amazing work taking a look at the game of baseball, and he really does a lot of great things over at Covers, doing an amazing job diving in on college football, the NFL, NBA, you name it, he does it, and every time he joins this podcast, lends tremendous insights and, as always, gives out that bat flip and pick of the day for Toronto Blue Jays game. So, big thanks to him for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Thursday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter feed at unit_D1. Very simple in regards to the order. We're going to be going in rotation order, which is where We go with the National League games first, then the American League games, and any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So without further ado, let's dive in on this first one of 951, 952 on the betting board. It is the Miami Marlins. They're on the road. They're playing against the Atlanta Braves as Kyle Wright hopes to be Mr. Right for the Braves. Braxton Garrett is on the bump for Miami. Miami's between a plus 172 to a plus 165 underdog, between minus 185 and minus 195 is your price on the Braves at run line price. Currently seeing that at plus 105 with the Braves, and your total is 8.5. The over is minus 120, and the under, it is even. I did set my total at an 8.8, looking at the over, but set my money line price at a minus 194 and was willing to lay up to a minus 108 on the run line. So going to be looking at that plus 105 on the run line. For Kyle Wright, first few starts of the season, he didn't have his A-plus stuff. You could tell that his velocity was down, and it's still sort of teeter-totterish, but seems like it's starting to come back. He did allow 2 home runs in his last start against the Houston Astros, but now he gets the Miami Marlins, a team that entered into Wednesday dead last in the league in terms of runs per game, in terms of the National League, as Luis Arias has been able to do an amazing job of being able to get on base, hitting a 444, but he's sort of been in and out of the fold recently, so that's been a bit of concern. He's missed the early part of this series. You do have Garrett Cooper, who does a nice job moving the line. He's been able to hit right around about a 285-ish. Brian De La Cruz has been able to move the line as well, but really, other than Jorge Soler, not a lot of power on the team. Soler hitting 5 home runs, and if you take a look at some of those advanced numbers in terms of just hard hit rate, barrel rate, he's been one of the top players in all the big leagues. Jazz Chisholm, he's also been able to do a good job of going yard, but when it comes to Jazz Chisholm, he and so many others are just not living up to their billing, and a big reason why the Miami Marlins have been having such a tough time scoring is that they have a bottom of the fold in which nobody is able to really hit. You've got Avicio Garcia, Gene Segura, Chisholm, who I mentioned, Nick Fortes, Jacob Stallings, all these guys hitting a 218 or lower. Meanwhile, for the Atlanta Braves, you could use a little bit more out of Eddie Rosario along with Marcell Ozuna, but by and large, this is a very good lineup. Ozzie Albies going out for 7 home runs. He's been able to really find it here last few weeks. Matt Olson, Sean Murphy, Austin Riley, only between about a 260 to a 275, all with between 5 and 6 home runs, and all 3 of these guys at least a 368 on base. Ronald Acuna Jr. hasn't necessarily been there in terms of power, but you know what? A 442 on base, that is going to play him for the Atlanta Braves. Bullpen has been a little bit shaky over the last 7 days. It has really unraveled prior to that series against the Houston Astros. This team was ranked in the top 5 in terms of bullpen ERA. Jesse Chavez has not necessarily been too terrific. I still like AJ Minter and Dylan Lee, though. Nick Anderson has been able to do a relatively solid job. They are dealing with ailments, so to the likes of Raisel Iglesias just got back into the fold, one of their main guys, and Colin McHugh as well, but still beats this Miami Marlins team. They do get back in the fold. Stephen Okert, that's big for them. AJ Puck has been rock solid, but they're currently missing JP Chargois. Dylan Flores posted up a solid ERA, but take a look at the advanced numbers. Regression should be coming in. When it comes to Braxton Garrett, I actually like the way that he has been able to pitch. His walks have been very much down ever since his first 2 years in the league last year. We're on 2.5 walks per 9 innings, 3 walks in 19 innings thus far this season, and he has allowed 2 runs or fewer in every one of his 4 appearances thus far this season across 19 innings. He's posting up a 2.84 ERA, but this is also an Atlanta Braves team that led the National League on home runs last season, and I do think that he is prone to giving up a little bit of hard contact, and I think that that might be the case here. I did set my total at an 8.8. I do think that the Atlanta Braves are going to be able to get into that bullpen, so I'm going to be taking a look at the Braves on the run line, and you're at an 8.5 looking at the over. 953, 954 on the betting board. The LA Dodgers are on the road facing off against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Mitch Keller is going to be going for the Buccos, and one Julio Arias is on the bump for the Dodgers, and the Dodgers between minus 162 to minus 170 favorites, between plus 145 and plus 152 your number on Pittsburgh. 8 to 8.5 is your total on the 8. Over is minus 120, and the under is even on the 8.5. Under is minus 120, and the over is even. And I did set the Dodgers at a minus 168 on the money line, and if you take a look at the run line, I was willing to lay up to a minus 112. Currently find that between even money and a minus 105. I'm going to be willing to lay the run line with the LA Dodgers. They have won, I believe, 121 regular season games since the beginning of last season, and just 19 of them have come by 1 run. So you do get a good premium by being able to take a look at the run line rather than the money line. And for Julio Urias, his ERA is a full half a point lower on the road rather than at home since the beginning of the 2021 season. He has been actually significantly better, giving up about 0.2 to 0.3 home runs per 9 innings fewer on the road rather than at home in this time span. So I do think that you actually get a little bit more value with Julio Urias when he's away from home, and he's pitched relatively well this year. He has given up 5 home runs in 27 innings, but he's got a strikeouts per 9 rate of 10, 5 walks in 27 innings, 3.33 ERA. He's been solid, and Mitch Keller has been able to do well in his own right as well. 3.64 ERA, velocity is up. You're always going to deal with walks when it comes to Mitch Keller, but hasn't been too bad, right around 3.3 walks per 9 innings. That's relatively as expected with Mitch Keller. And for Mitch Keller, you take a look at what he did last season, and he was a little bit better at home rather than on the road. That's been bearing out this far this season, giving up at home last year about 0.85 home runs per 9 innings, and he's going to need to rely upon that because the LA Dodgers, they entered into this game tops in the National League in terms of home runs. Max Muncy, 11 home runs thus far this season, has been a little bit banged up for this series, so do want to note that that's been a little bit of a break for the Pittsburgh Pirates. But Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, both of these guys have just not been able to go yard much this year. Mookie Betts just 3 home runs going into yesterday. You know that these guys are going to turn it around. James Outman, he has been tremendous, hitting above a 307 home runs going into yesterday. The big key for this team, getting the bottom full. Guys like David Peralta, Trace Thompson, Chris Taylor, Austin Wynns on base, because it's been a very top-heavy Dodgers lineup. And for the Pirates, I think that we're finally starting to see regression for them, not having O'Neill Cruz now. Do have some guys who are able to get on base. Jack Swiniski, along with Andrew McCutcheon, Carlos Santana, Rodolfo Castro, all entered into yesterday in between about a 257 to a 272. Brian Reynolds, he had that really nice start to the year. He's still hitting right around about a 285 or so with 5 home runs entering into yesterday, but he has been regressing a little bit. You do have some guys at the bottom of the fold like Jaywan Bay that just don't really give you a whole lot of power, and they don't really move the line. Meanwhile, for this Pittsburgh Pirates bullpen, losing Chase Young, that's bad for them. This is a bullpen that I think is going to be league average when it's all said and done. You've got Dory Moretta, who looks to be a little bit better than he was with the Cincinnati Reds. Still have some question marks there. Colin Olderman, David Benner, these guys have been solid, but trusting in Dwayne Underwood Jr., it's a little bit of a roll of the dice. And for the LA Dodgers, last season they were the number 1 team in terms of bullpen ERA. You figured there was going to be a little bit of regression with these nameless, faceless guys. Evan Phillips, Yancy Almonte, Alex Vesia, Caleb Ferguson, all had a sub-3.3 ERA last season, but now they've got back Victor Gonzalez after he was banged up for a few seasons. They no longer have Craig Kimbrell, which that's honestly a massive positive for this team. And I do think that for Mitch Keller, he's going to be able to do a relatively solid job, but I think that Julio Urias is going to be nails here. This is a little bit more of a pitcher-friendly ballpark, so I did set my total at 7.8. Here, being able to get between an 8 and 8.5, going to be looking at the under. The Dodgers, they have an uncanny way of being able to win games by multiple runs. I'm going to be willing to take them on the run line, and I'm going to be taking a look at this total under. Now here comes the DK Nation write-up pick, 955, 956 on the betting board. It is the San Diego Padres at the road to face off against the Chicago Cubs. Hayden Wesneski is going to be going for the Cubbies, and Seth Lugo is on the bump for the Padres. Currently, there is no total up on this game. It is a Wrigley Field game, so the wind is going to be dictating that, and you should expect bookmakers to post that up in the AM. With that said, we do have a money line price. The Padres are anywhere between a minus 125 to a minus 140, I'm seeing as high as right now. Meanwhile, with the Cubs, seeing as low as a plus 115, as high as a plus 130, and my DK Nation write-up pick, it is going to be on the money line. It's hard to do a write-up pick on a total that currently is not up on the board, though I will say, with regards to that total, I did set mine at an 8.7, so in half or less, going to be looking at the over, and a 9 or higher, going to be looking at the under. It looks like the wind is going to be blowing out a little bit directionally at about 8 or so miles per hour, but it's also going to be high 40s, about 50 or so degrees at first pitch, so it's not necessarily going to be the warmest of warm days, but I set the Cubs at a minus 106 on the money line, so being able to get a plus price, that is why I'm going to make this one the write-up pick. Now, with Seth Lugo, he's been able to do a solid job this far this season. He's posted up a sub-3 ERA. He hasn't necessarily been giving up a lot of walks. I have my question marks as to how he was going to transition from being a bullpen piece to the New York Mets, so he did have a little bit of starting experience into being a starter, and so far so good. 278 ERA, 1 home run allowed in 22 and 2/3 innings. He is allowing a lot of contact, though. Opponents are hitting at 261 off of him, And this is the Chicago Cubs team that entered into Wednesday number 1 in the National League in terms of batting average, number 1 in the National League in terms of runs per game. They just have a lot of guys that move the line. They aren't necessarily hitting for a ton of power, though you do have a guy in Patrick Wisdom who's been able to go deep 9 times this far this season going into Wednesday. But you just take a look at it. Among the 10 guys for the Chicago Cubs that have gotten at least 25 at-bats thus far this season, you've got 7 of them hitting at least a 287 going into yesterday. Cody Bellinger, he is currently away from the team for the next few days, but you still have Nico Horner, along with someone like an Ian Happ, Yan Gomes, Nick Madrigal, C.A. Suzuki, all these guys hitting at least a 289. They're doing a great job moving the line. You've been able to get some nice power as well out of Yan Gomes, 5 home runs. He also provides that power when he's tackling Drew Smyly as well. But you know what? For the Cubs, even though you do have some bullpen concerns with this team, they're 18th in terms of bullpen ERA. It's actually far worse with the San Diego Padres as they entered into yesterday. 24th in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Really, other than Josh Hader, not a lot of guys have been trustworthy for this bullpen. Luis Garcia is north of a 9 ERA. Brent Honeywell, he's been able to do a relatively solid job. Steven Wilson had a sub-3 ERA last season as well, but past that we have seen a massive fall-off with a lot of these guys. And for the Chicago Cubs, it's not like it's great, but Michael Fulmer, Brad Boxberger have been solid. They get someone like a Brandon Hughes back in the fold as well, and I do think that Hayden Wesneski going to be able to do a solid job here. He has made 10 career appearances, 8 of which have been starts for the Chicago Cubs, allowing 3 runs or fewer in all but one of them. Career about 3.56 ERA, 2.5 walks per 9 innings, 8 punch-outs per 9 innings. Doesn't necessarily blow you away, but with the wind being what it is, blowing out a little bit, but blowing out directionally, and facing off against the San Diego Padres team that can hit, I think that this is very favorable, as right now for the Padres, Xander Bogaerts is hitting a 330 with 5 home runs entering into the game on Wednesday, but you've got so many guys that are struggling. Going into yesterday, Manny Machado, Ha-Seong Kim, Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis Jr., Austin Nola, all these guys were hitting at 213 or lower. I mean, with Soto, he's still drawing walks and has been able to supply 4 home runs, but you just expect a lot more from a guy that you're paying that sort of money to, and it's a big reason why the San Diego Padres right now, they entered into yesterday dead last in the National League in terms of batting average, as it was laid out by a good friend Andrew Caley, 27th in the league. In terms of total runs, the Cubs have the leg up with regards to the lineup. They've got the leg up with the bullpen. I think that Wesneski and Lugo are relative equals, so my DK Nation write-up pick in a game that's a body clock game for the West Coast San Diego Padres is a money line. I did set the Cubs at a minus 106, and like I said, with regards to the total, set it at an 8.7, so 8.5 or less, looking at the over, 9 or higher to the under, 957, 958 on the betting board. It is the St. Louis Cardinals, and they're on the road facing off against the San Francisco Giants. Miles Mikolas is going to be going for the Cardinals, and Logan Webb is on the bump for the Giants. 8.5 is the total, over and under, anywhere between minus 105 and minus 115. Giants are between minus 128 and minus 135 favorites, between plus 115 and plus 122 is the number on the Cardinals. I just set the Giants at a minus 143. I'm going to be willing to lay this number. The St. Louis Cardinals just don't look like the St. Louis Cardinals of old. The bullpen has not been too terrific this year, as Ryan Elsley completely lit that game on fire on Tuesday. Now, it's actually still better than the San Francisco Giants, in which their bullpen has completely fallen off this season going into yesterday. A 5.24 bullpen ERA. That is ranked 27th in the league. The Cardinals, they were more around 15th in the league in terms of bullpen ERA entering into yesterday, though. I do like Genesis Cabrera, Giovanni Gallegos. These guys have been relatively solid in that Cardinals bullpen. Meanwhile, for the San Francisco Giants, you really don't have much other than Camilo Duvall, Scott Alexander. When it comes to Taylor and Tyler Rogers, I don't have any faith in either of those guys. John Brebbia and company, it's been rough. And for Logan Webb, I know that we had Ben Wilson on the podcast yesterday talking about how Logan Webb is fielding independent and his ERA don't necessarily match up, how he's been just getting the short end of the stick from his fielding, as he's already been the victim of 3 unearned runs thus far this season, and the command is there. 4 walks were entered in 30 2/3 innings. His strikeouts per 9 rate is north of 10, and the reason why I'm willing to back Logan Webb here, he's always had some relatively demonstrative home and road splits. You go back to 2021, he had a .96 home ERA compared to an ERA that was north of 4 on the road, and for Miles Mikolas, he just hasn't been good this year. He's got a 7.46 ERA. He's allowed 6 home runs in 25 1/3 innings. Now, Logan Webb, he has also been supplying the deep ball, as well as he has given up 6 bombs in 30 2/3 innings. That is a little bit of an issue, but I do think that for Miles Mikolas, he's been able to get a little bit over 8 punch-outs per 9 innings. The walks continue to be solid. As last year, he gave up right around 2 walks per 9 innings, but you tell that he's just getting hit. He's getting hit really hard as well. Now, San Francisco, it is very much a pitcher-friendly ballpark, but so is St. Louis, and he's still giving up home runs there. For the San Francisco Giants, you had 8 separate guys enter into Wednesday with at least 3 home runs this season, as J.D. Davis, Michael Conforto, Thairo Estrada, and Mike Yastrzemski all between 4 and 5 this season. Blake Sabel with 4 as well. You don't have a ton of guys moving the line. You could use some of these guys like a Brandon Crawford, Sabel I mentioned. Mitch Haniger is back at the fold, but you need these guys to be hitting better than a 225, as all these guys 225 or lower entering it yesterday. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, a lot of equality with regards to this lineup, as you've got 2 guys with north of 2 home runs entering it yesterday. Nolan Gorman, who's been amazing, hitting at 295 with 6 home runs, and then you had Tommy Edman with 4 home runs. Like, everyone else has 2 home runs on this roster. I'm not even kidding, and most of these guys range between about we're going to call it 270 to a 290. Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Wilson Contreras, Tyler O'Neill's just below that, right around 265, along with Brendan Donovan. But like, all these guys have very equal numbers. You've got a lot of guys getting on base for the Cardinals. They're just not necessarily driving them in. I do think that Logan Webb, who has a career 296 home ERA compared to a 4.11 ERA on the road, and for his career in San Francisco is giving up less than a half home run per 9 innings, is going to be able to lock this down. I do think that Miles Michaelis is going to be able to pick it up a little bit as well. So I did set my total at 8.3, 8.5. I'm going to be taking a look at the under, and with the Giants, I'm going to lay minus 142 on the money line or less, 959, 960 on the betting board. It is the New York Mets. They play us the Washington Nationals. Trevor Williams is going to be going for the Nats, and Joey Lucchesi is on the bump for the Mets, and the Mets are a favorite of anywhere between minus 210 to minus 215, anywhere between plus 185 and plus 182 is your number on Washington. 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 115, the over is minus 105, and if you're looking at a run line of the Mets, that is even money, and need at least a plus 200 price to be able to take a look at the Nationals, but was one to lay up to a minus 112 with the Mets run line, so being able to get this at even money, that is where I'm going to be diving in. Now, for the Washington Nationals, they actually back up Trevor Williams with a halfway decent bullpen. If you look, ever since the All-Star break of the 2022 season, Nationals have a top 10 bullpen in terms of ERA. Hunter Harvey, Carl Edwards Jr., Mason Thompson, Erasmo Ramirez all had a sub 3.4 ERA 8 seasons ago. And Trevor Williams, he knows this Mets team very well, which I think is going to be to his detriment in this spot, as he hasn't been too bad this year. He's posting up right around a 3.38 ERA. He's given up 3 home runs in 21 and a third innings. Command is there with 4 walks in those innings, but he's also got a strikeouts per 9 rate that's hovering right around 6, 6.5. Meanwhile, for Joey Lucchesi, he spent the last few years at the minor league level and just completely shut down the San Francisco Giants in his last start. 7 scoreless innings. It's been very topsy-turvy for our good friend Mr. Lucchesi, as he made his MLB debut in 2018. Has never been a tremendous pitcher, has never really been an awful pitcher, and he's always had swing and miss stuff. Right around 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings throughout his career. His walks per 9 rate has always been in that neighborhood of 3. The big concern with him is giving up a lot of hard contact, and for one, he's currently playing in New York, so that'll help out with that, and 2, he's playing against a Nationals team that entered into yesterday dead last in the National League in terms of total home runs. As a matter of fact, the only guy with more than 2 home runs on this team, Jameer Candelario, 3. Now, you do have some guys for the Washington Nationals that are able to move the line. Going into yesterday, Lane Thomas, Joey Meneses, both of these guys rating at 265, and Keibert Ruiz, Victor Robles rating about a 280, so that's been nice for this team. You've been able to get some good at-bats out of Stone Garrett as well. He's a little bit of an upside guy. They bring in someone like Michael Chavis, who I always like with the Boston Red Sox. And for the New York Mets, it's been a little bit of tough sledding for them to begin the season. For everyone not named Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso entered into yesterday with 10 home runs. He's been doing a tremendous job, but you've been noticing guys like Eduardo Escobar, Tomasito, Tommy Pham, Francisco Lindor, and at 225 or lower, that's been rough. Starling Marte, even though he's got around a 325-ish on base, batting average sub 240 going into yesterday. That's been a little bit tough for the team. Brandon Nimmo has been able to do a good job of moving the line, but I do think that they should be able to pick it up a little bit. And for the New York Mets, what has been a saving grace for them has been something unexpected. We all thought that when Edwin Diaz went down that this bullpen was going to be in shambles going into yesterday. 8th in the league in terms of bullpen ERA. They pick up Brooks Raley along with David Robertson, a pair of wily veterans that have shored things up for the team. Adam Bonavino is a little bit older, but he's been able to give you some good innings. Tommy Hunter, he wasn't too bad for the team last season as well. Drew Smith is able to give you some solid innings as well. So I do think that this Mets team is going to be able to piecemeal together something good, and I think that in this circumstance, Trevor Williams and his familiarity with the Mets, that's going to be a bad thing because the Mets know exactly what he's throwing, and I just think that with the Washington Nationals, they're not going to hold up their end of the bargain with regards to this total. They've been having a tough time scoring all season long, so did set my total at 8.4 here at an 8.5. looking at the under, and with the Mets at even money, they're going to look at that run line, laying a run and a half. 961, 962 on the betting board. The Oakland A's set the road face-off against the LA Angels. Shohei Ohtani is going to be going for the Angels. JP Sears is on the bump for Oakland. Oakland is an underdog of between plus 245 and plus 255. Anywhere between minus 282 and minus 295 is your number on the LA Angels. 8 is the total. Over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. Run line of the Angels anywhere between about minus 130 to minus 140. I was willing to go up to a minus 150. JP Sears is honestly one of the more okay starters for the Oakland A's. He's able to keep the ball in the yard a little bit. This year, it's been a little bit of the opposite. 6 home runs given up in 21 2/3 innings. If you take a look a season ago, he was able to do a better job of holding down the fort as he allowed 8 home runs in 70 innings. So I do think that there's going to be some positive progression. He's been a little bit robbed on some of these balls that have been put in play, but at the same time, for JP Sears, he is going to have a lot more balls in play because he does a good job with command. Even last year, he was averaging about 2.5 walks per 9 innings. Swing and miss stuff was a little bit down last year. This year, he's up to right around 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he does leave the ball out over the plate a little bit too much, and LA has been playing very hitter-friendly during the daytime throughout the entirety of the season. This is going to be an afternoon first pitch, so that means that Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, they should be on their game in this one. It combined 10 home runs going into yesterday. Trout hitting at 325, really providing a lot of extra base hits. So Ohtani has been a little bit shaky at the plate recently. I do think that he's going to be able to pick it up. No concerns there for me. 100 run for last year at 25 bombs, hit at 250 with the Brewers, and he's actually doing a better job there. Now, the bottom of the fold for the Angels has been in a little bit of flux with the Logan O'Hoppe injury. You've had guys like Jake Lamb, Luis Renifo, throw in there Anthony Rendon, Zach Neto, all these guys hitting a 226 or lower, so that has been a little bit rough. Meanwhile, for the Oakland A's, they actually hit as a collective not too badly when they're away from home. At home, this offense is terrible, which is why they're always towards the bottom of the league in terms of their offensive numbers. They're hitting a 206 as a collective at home. Entering into yesterday, they were hitting a 248 on the road with having Brent Rooker, Shea Langolaris, and Jesus Aguilar being able to provide a combined 12 home runs in the first 12 games of the season. So you've been able to get a little bit of something there. You got someone like Jace Peterson, who's been able to hit 270 when he's been away from home. Brent Rooker, away from home, is hitting above 4, and we should see a little bit of regression there. Estereo Ruiz has been able to move the line as well. But for the Oakland A's, out of 30 teams right now, they are 30th in terms of bullpen ERA. Yes, there is a bullpen out there that is worse than the Angels, and it's on the flip side in this game. Jurcic Familia might be one of your most trustworthy guys in this bullpen. That's really bad. Zach Jackson, Sam Malde had a sub-3.5 ERA, but Domingo Acevedo has been dealing with some injuries. You've also been without Danny Jimenez. These are guys that you look to, so now they've got guys like Sam Long and Adam Oller coming out of the bullpen, and for the LA Angels, this team is actually league average with regards to their bullpen if you base it from the All-Star break of the 2022 season on. Now we are going to be seeing lots of regression there. Like Chase Silseth is back up at the major league level. That's not good. Jose Quiada, he has been a hot mess. Matt Moore is someone that I do like. He's got a sub-2 ERA since the beginning part of last season, but for the Angels it is a little bit of a mess. But Shohei Ohtani has been absolutely magnificent. He's won 28 innings. He's given up 2 runs, 38 strikeouts. Has not allowed a single home run. Now, the one fear that you have is that he might get knocked out a little bit early because he has been giving up 4.5 walks per 9 innings. But we've seen this from Shohei Ohtani early on during seasons. He gives out quite a few walks in his first 4 or 5 starts of the season and is able to bear down from there. I think that that'll be the case here. But I did set my total at an 8.2. A day game in LA plays significantly different than a night game. The Oakland A's, they were just giving up runs upon runs, and I do think that the Angels are going to be able to rack them up. So taking a look at the Angels run line, willing to lay up to a minus 150, and at an 8, going to be taking a look at the over. 963, 964 on the betting board. The Detroit Tigers play host to the Baltimore Orioles. Kyle Gibson goes for the Orioles, and Joey Wentz is going to be on the bump for Detroit. And Detroit is an underdog of anywhere between plus 120 and plus 128. Meanwhile, between minus 134 and minus 140 is your number on Baltimore. 8 is the total. The over and under are between minus 105 and minus 115. And for Baltimore, set them as a minus 142 favorite. I'm going to be willing to lay this number with Baltimore. They've been able to do a really solid job with their bullpen once again this season. Felix Bautista has been one of the best closers in the big leagues. Keegan Aiken has been able to do a solid job as a long guy along with Mike Baumann. They're currently the Orioles number 3 in terms of bullpen ERA in the big leagues. Meanwhile, for the Detroit Tigers, it's not the same bullpen that we saw a season ago. Last season, you had so many guys that were trustworthy for this team, like Michael Fulmer, Gregory Soto, Joey Jimenez, and a lot of those guys are gone. You still do have someone that I do like in Jose Serrano, Alex Lang. He's able to give you a couple okay innings, but that's a big fall off for this team. And on top of that, for the Detroit Tigers, this team is just not doing a great job of putting bat to ball. Wasn't the world's worst series for them in Milwaukee, but overall, this team is in the bottom 3 in the big leagues in terms of total batting average. You just take a look at these guys, and right now you've got 2 players that have seen north of 25 at-bats. They're hitting above a 239. Matt Vierling is one of them, and Eric Haas is the other, and they've got a combined 1 home run between the 2 of them. Kerry Carpenter, Nick Main, they've got 8 of the team's 17 home runs thus far this season, and both of those guys are aimed below the Mendoza line of 200. The team really doesn't draw a lot of walks as well. Meanwhile, for the Orioles, Kyle Gibson, he's looked like a completely new pitcher this year. Last year he had a 5 ERA. He was not good with the Philadelphia Phillies. Team has won 4-1 in his starts. He is 4-0 overall as Gibson has still been giving up the deep ball. 4 home runs allowed in 30 innings. His strikeout numbers still right around 7 to 7.5 punch-outs per 9 innings. Walks per 9 rate hovering right around 3. So he's not doing anything spectacular. But you know what? Going up against the Detroit Tigers, that's a very good spot for him. And for the Baltimore Orioles, this has been a team that has been able to put bat to ball all season long. They're 6th in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. And this is even with some guys underachieving this year. Anthony Santander, Adam Frazier, Gunnar Henderson, all these guys are currently hitting a 210 or lower. Brian Mountcastle hitting about a 238, just a 255 on base, has been able to drive in runs. He and Cedric Mullins a combined 40 RBI between the 2 of them. You do have Adley Rutschman, who's been able to give you 400 on base, but this Orioles team has been able to do a great job with their bullpen. For Joey Wentz, he's just all over the place at this point. 7.56 ERA. He just doesn't belong at the big league level right now. Strikeouts per 9 rate is hovering right around about 7.5 to 8, but his walks per 9 rate is 4.5. He gives up a lot of hard contact. He really can't go deep into games. There's not a lot of redeeming qualities here with Joey Wentz, and I do think that the Baltimore Orioles are going to do a nice job holding down this sad Detroit Tigers offense. Somebody told us 7.9, so here at an 8, I'm going to be taking a look at the under, and with the Orioles, I'm willing to lay up to a minus 142 on the money line. If you're looking at the run line, find that anywhere between a plus 130 to a plus 140. If you still have the plus 130 or greater, I would honestly probably look at a run line before a money line. I personally like to take some run lines at these ordeals, and I think that I'm going to do so here with the Orioles. So I'm looking at the Orioles getting that nice plus price, needing at least a plus 125, and I'm going to be taking a look at the under 965, 966 on the betting board. It is the Chicago White Sox playing against the Tampa Bay Rays. Shane McClanahan is going to be going for the Rays, and Dylan Cease and Deceased is on the bump for the White Sox. And the White Sox, they're underdogs of anywhere between plus 130 and plus 138. Meanwhile, if you're taking a look at the Rays, you're going to be finding them anywhere between minus 142 and minus 152. 7 to 7.5 is your total. On the 7, over is minus 125. The under is plus 105. On the 7.5, under is minus 125. The over, it is plus 105. I need at least a plus 137 to take a shot on the White Sox. And if you're taking a look at the run line in this ordeal with the Tampa Bay Rays, finding it at a plus 120, minus 140 with the White Sox, I typically don't like to take a run and a half on the run line unless I'm getting a plus price. I can't trust in the White Sox to win this game. I don't see how the Rays win this game by multiple runs as well. I was willing to lay up to a minus 142 on this, plus a run and a half run line. At current numbers, I'd be willing to take the run and a half at a minus 140. Now, if we get north of like plus 140, plus 145, which I think that this team is going to come in on the Tampa Bay Rays, then I'll reconsider. But at current numbers right now, that's where I'd be looking. I'd be looking to take a run and a half because I've got faith in Dylan Cease being able to keep this White Sox team in the game. The White Sox are actually 3-2 in Dylan Cease's starts, and one of those losses came by 1 run against, you guessed it, the Tampa Bay Rays on the road. Now, for Dylan Cease, a big thing for him is being able to go deep into games. He has went 5 innings or fewer in 3 out of his last 4 starts because he gets loose with the walks. 4.5 walks per 9 innings. His strikeout numbers are absolutely supreme, but you need Dylan Cease to be able to lend some length in this one because the Chicago White Sox bullpen is a complete tragedy. The White Sox right now, in terms of bullpen ERA, are in the bottom 3 in the big leagues with this regard, and I mean, you've got Aaron Bummer really living up to his name because it has been a big bummer for all these guys in the bullpen as you've got him, Jimmy Lambert, Ronaldo Lopez, just not a trustworthy guy out there. You've right now got one guy in the bullpen with a sub-3 ERA, Gregory Santos. He has honestly been the only guy that has done anything for this bullpen whatsoever. All the guys I mentioned, at least a 4.97 ERA. It has been very sad to take a look at, but I do think that Dylan Cease could be able to land a good start. And for Shane McClanahan, throughout his career, he's got an ERA about 0.25 points lower when he is on the road rather than when he is at home. He's done a great job of being able to limit hard contact this year. 2 home runs surrendered in 29 innings, very on par with his career numbers. He's been able to get, for his career, about 10.5 punch-outs per 9 innings, and while I talk about the Chicago White Sox and their woes in the bullpen, guess what? The Tampa Bay Rays, they're once again very good in the bullpen. Number 2 in terms of bullpen ERA, you've got so many guys like Jalen Beeks, Colin Boucher, Garrett Clevenger, Pete Fairbanks. All these guys know their role in the bullpen. Now, for the Rays, I do think we're going to see some regression with this lineup. They lead the big leagues in darn near every offensive category entered into yesterday, hitting at .282 with 48 home runs in 24 games. Right now, they are on pace with those numbers at 300 and I think 24 home runs, if my math is correct. Might be like 334 or something like that, but they're on pace for well north of 300 home runs this season. I just don't see that being the case, but guys like Wander Franco, Randy Arozarena, Brandon Lau, they've all been able to do a good job of really being able to move the line. Yandy Diaz is hitting above a 300 as well. Hero Ramirez is hitting at 370. All these guys, 4+ home runs thus far this season. It has been incredible. I mean, other than Manuel Margot, everyone has been able to get things to go. Meanwhile, for the Chicago White Sox, injuries are just killing this team. Tim Anderson, Montiel Moncada being in and out of the fold has really hurt this team. You've got Luis Robert, who's been able to do a solid job, and Jake Berger have both been able to supply 5 home runs, but Berger doesn't really move the line. Oscar Colas, Eloy Jimenez, Luis Sosa are all hitting below a 220. Luis Robert is hitting at 220 right now as well. Andrew Benintendi provides a 295 average, and when the Chicago White Sox aren't hitting, that's terrible because the team doesn't draw walks. Really, other than Andrew Vaughn, you don't have a lot of guys drawing walks. I do think that this is going to be a low-scoring pitcher's duel. I do think that Dylan Cease is going to come out there. He's going to shove. He's going to realize that the team needs him to be able to lend a little bit of length, and I think that he's going to be able to do so. So I'm going to take a run and a half with the White Sox. I can't trust in them with this short of a number on the money line, but I can trust in them being able to keep this within 1 run. So I'm going to be looking at that White Sox plus 1.5 run line, and I'm going to be taking a look at this total under. As I said, my total is 6.8. 967, 968 on the betting board. It is the Minnesota Twins playing against the Kansas City Royals as Zach Greinke goes for the Royals and Tyler Mahle is on the bump for the Minnesota Twins. And the Twins, they are favorites of any between -190 and -205, any between +160 and +175. Your number on the Royals, 8.5 is the total. Unders -120, the over is even. On the 8, we're seeing an over on 8 of any between -115 and -120. The under, that's any between even and -105. Needed at least a +222 to take a shot on the Royals. If you're looking at the run line of the Minnesota Twins, it's between even money and -105, with one to lay up to a -120 in this spot. For Tyler Mahle, just getting out of Cincinnati is big for him. I still recall that 2021 campaign where he had an ERA of right around a 230 on the road. It was well north of 5 at home because at home, his home runs per 9 rate was above 2. On the road, it was about 0.4. This guy just really needs to avoid hard contact when he's in very hitter-friendly ballparks, and Minnesota's about as pitcher-friendly as it gets in the American League, and I think that it's going to serve him very well. Mahle has made 4 starts thus far this season, and he's been solid. 3.32 ERA, has given up 4 home runs in 21 and 2/3 innings. Guess what? 2 of those home runs came in Yankee Stadium, so I think that that's a little bit of an underlining with that, and now he gets a face-off against the Kansas City Royals team that's about as offensive as Ned Flanders. They got shut out yesterday against the Arizona Diamondbacks as a collective going into that game. They were in the bottom 3 in the big leagues in terms of batting average at a 222, and you're just getting nobody that's able to move the line other than your main 2 guys, Bobby Witt Jr. and Vinny Pasquantino. A combined 8 home runs between the 2 of them. Bobby Witt Jr. hitting about a 250, Pasquantino about a 285, but MJ Melendez, Michael Massey, Nicky Lopez, Jackie Bradley Jr., Nate Eaton, Hunter Dozier, all hitting a $190 or lower is just terrible. And for the Minnesota Twins, this team is in the bottom 10 right now in terms of batting average as well. Now, I do think that there's more hope that more of these guys are going to be able to turn around as Michael A. Taylor, Byron Buxton, Jose Miranda, Trevor Larnach, all in between about a 235 to a 245, and not a lot of power. These guys, Buxton and Michael A. Taylor, 4 home runs apiece. Carlos Correa is hitting just a 200. You got to wonder if those back issues that were appearing on those x-rays, what have you, those are popping up and really hurting him right now. He and Max Kepler both hitting right around 200, but they get back Jorge Polanco in his games back. He's been hitting right around 400, obviously, doing for some regression, but Joey Gallo, 7 home runs in his first 42 at-bats as well. Now with the Minnesota Twins, it's a relatively league average bullpen. They're currently missing a guy in Oriel Call, who I like for this bullpen, but Jorge Lopez, Yoander, and these guys are rock solid. Giovanni Morin had a 3 ERA last season. If you're going to avoid the guys like Brock Stewart, Caleb Theobar, that's going to be good. And for the Kansas City Royals, this team entered into Wednesday second to worst in all the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, and this is with Aroldis Chapman actually looking relatively solid. I recognize he gave up a run in that game against the Arizona Diamondbacks a few days ago, but he's been good. Scott Barlow had a sub-3 ERA last season. What you're going to be able to get out of Josh Staumont and Josh Taylor is a little bit of a roll of the dice, but when you get into the long guys like Carlos Hernandez, Taylor Clark, Jose Cuas, there's just no trusting in them whatsoever. And for Zach Greinke, he's got very demonstrative home and road splits. You take a look at what happened in 2022, and he had a .191 home ERA, a .532 ERA on the road. On the road, he gave up a 1.7 home runs per 9 innings. At home, he gave up a 1 home run in 66 innings. And thus far this season, he's got a .630 road ERA compared to a .363 home ERA, giving up 4 bombs in 10 innings away from home, 1 bomb in 17 and a third innings at home. He can't pitch anywhere other than Kansas City at this point, so that's a big reason why I'm taking a look at the Twins on the run line. I do think that Greinke going to be the beneficiary of these ballpark dimensions. I said my total is 7.7, and the Royals just aren't hitting in general, so looking at the under in the spot and the Minnesota Twins on the run line, 969, 970 on the betting board. It is the Texas Rangers. They play host to the New York Yankees as Garrett Cole goes for the Yankees. Andrew Heaney is on the bump for the Rangers. This number is moving as I do this podcast, as Yankees open up as a -170 favorite. Now we're finding them anywhere between -155 and -165 with the Rangers. It's anywhere between +135 and +145. Total open up at 8. Still seeing a straight 8 with the under at -120 and the over at even, but mostly seeing 7.5s now. And the 7.5 juice is anywhere between -105 to -115 on the over and the under. And if you're looking at the Yankees, you're able to find their run line anywhere between a +105 to a +110. I was willing to lay up to a -162 with the Yankees money line. You need at least a +110 on the run line. As of right now, I'm seeing this actually come down to a -152, -150-ish. I'd be looking at a Yankees money line because I do think that this is going to be a little bit of a lower scoring game. I fully agree with the move on the under. I said my total is 7.4, so if you still have that 8 available, take a look at the under. But even at a 7.5, I do like the under with the way that Garrett Cole has been pitching this year. Do I think that there's going to be a little bit of regression from giving up 3 runs in 34 innings at 0 home runs given his track record? Absolutely, as Garrett Cole actually led the American League in home runs surrendered last season, but he looks completely dialed in. His walks per 9 rate, that is well below 3. He's been getting about 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's honestly been down a little bit with the strikeouts, but it feels like it's not necessarily a bad thing. And I think the misnomer is strikeouts is always a good thing for pitchers. Sometimes when you kick down the strikeouts, you actually get a little bit better, and I think that that could be the case for Andrew Heaney, as Andrew Heaney last year had right around like 13 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he was still giving up the deep ball, and for Andrew Heaney, he's down to more like 9.1, 9.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, but hasn't been terrible for him. He does have a 4.34 ERA, has given up a pair of home runs, but last 3 starts, he's given up as many home runs as myself across a combined 16 innings, so that's been solid. Now, 2 of those starts came against the Oakland A's and the Kansas City Royals, so that's not great competition, and for the Texas Rangers, they entered into their series against the Cincinnati Reds, a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA. That certainly regressed, but I do still have some faith in this bullpen. I'll say Leclerc, Brock Burke, Jonathan Hernandez all provided a sub-3 ERA last season, and for the New York Yankees, they currently bolster the number 1 bullpen ERA in the big leagues, as Clay Holmes has just not been himself thus far this season, but really guys not named Clay Holmes have been able to do a very good job, as Albert Abreu, Michael King, Ron Metanacchio, Wandy Peralta are all providing a 3 ERA or better. Jamie Cordero is able to give you some good innings, and the Yankees are currently the top under team in all of baseball because this is an all-or-nothing team. Anthony Rizzo, Aaron Judge, they've got a combined 11 home runs, and both of these guys providing north of a 350 on base, but you take a look at these guys at the bottom of the fold. Anthony Volpe is starting to come around. He and Willie Calhoun are both hitting about a 225, but Jose Trevino, Kyle Higashioka, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Franchi Cordero, Osvaldo Peraza, the much maligned Aaron Hicks, all these guys are hitting a 220 or lower. Josh Donaldson is currently on the injured list. Honestly, I think that that's probably a good thing for the Yankees. You've got DJ LeMahieu getting on base, but ever since the Giancarlo Stanton injury, that has hurt them. And for the Texas Rangers, they're dealing with an injury of their own in Corey Seager, but you've had Josh Young do a solid job for this team, hitting about a 280. He had a multi-home run game against the Cincinnati Reds in their previous series. Marcus Semien, he's been able to slug out 4 home runs over the last 12 days for this team as he's come around hitting about a 280. You've got Adolis Garcia, he's up to 7 bombs, hitting about a 265. Guys like Ezekiel Duran, Travis Janikowski towards the bottom of the fold have been solid. You got a few guys like Bubba Thompson, Brad Miller. They've been a little bit up and down, but I do think that Garrett Cole going to go back to the state of Texas, shut it down at current numbers. I'd be looking more at like the -150, -152 money line rather than a run line, as I do think that this is going to be a lower scoring game. Even at a 7.5, looking at the under to go along with that Yankees money line and wrap things up with 971, 972 on the betting board. It is the Philadelphia Phillies They hit the road. They're facing off against the Seattle Mariners as George Kirby is going to be going for the Mariners and Matt Strahm is on the bump for Philadelphia. The Phillies are anywhere between minus 107 to minus 115 favorites, anywhere between even money and minus 105. Your number on Seattle, 8.5 is the total. The over and the under, they're anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. And for the Mariners, I feel like they should be the minus 113 favorite. For George Kirby, his career walks per 9 rate is right around 1.3 to 1.4. His command is absolutely pinpoint. Now, going up against the Philadelphia Phillies team that they've been able to do a good job of being able to move the line. They're hitting at 277 as a collective. That is number 2 in the National League behind the Chicago Cubs, but you don't necessarily have the guys going yard for you. Kyle Schwarber has been able to give you 5 home runs. Brandon Marsh, 4 home runs, but not having out there Rhys Hoskins, who's out for the season. You got to expect that at some point you're going to be able to get Bryce Harper back at the fold, but even the Derek Hall injury has robbed the team of a lot of power, which is why you're seeing a lot of men be stranded on base right now for this bunch, even though you do have someone like a Brandon Marsh, Bryson Stott, Nick Castellanos, Alec Boehm, all these guys hitting at least a 300. Comando Sosa is hitting right around 300 as well. And then on the flip side, you've got a Seattle Mariners team that they were 3rd worst in the big leagues in terms of batting average last season, but they've been able to have the boom provided by Jared Kelenic. He has been able to give the team 7 home runs already this year, hitting well above a 300. Ty France has been able to do a good job moving the line, 365 on base for him. You do have the bottom of the fold not really living up to expectations. So it's A.J. Pollock, Colton Wong, Tommy La Stella. Throw in there their young shortstop and Jose Calabrello. These guys are all hitting a 215 or lower. Cal Raleigh has not been able to supply a lot of power as well. 2 home runs, hitting at 225. The Mariners have a big leg up in terms of the bullpen. They are dealing with an injury to Andres Munoz, but Penn Murphy, along with Paul Sewald, had sub-3 ERAs last season. Matt Brash is someone I still like for this team. You've got Diego Castillo, which he can always be a little bit of a roll of the dice, but at the very least, it's not quite this Philadelphia Phillies bullpen, which they've been able to find a really nice closer in Jose Alvarado, who's been locked down, but the Philadelphia Phillies still entered into Wednesday 26th in the league in terms of bullpen ERA. Meanwhile, the Seattle Mariners are 7th. It's just really hard to have a lot of faith in a lot of these relievers right now for the Philadelphia Phillies, as guys like Connor Brogdon, along with Andrew Bellotti, have not been terrific, and Bellotti's now on the injured list for the team. Junior Marte has not been able to get the job done. You're trusting in Luis Ortiz for some innings. They picked up Greg Kimbrell. Why? I have no idea, but they did. And then you got Gregory Soto, who's not been able to pan out for the team as well. Sir Anthony Dominguez has been all over the place. He's provided north of an 80 ERA. I do think that he's going to be able to find it, but the question is when. And for Matt Strahm, he just doesn't provide a lot of length. He has given you 4 starts this far this season, 5 1/3 innings or fewer in every single one of them. Feels like he's starting to get figured out after some really good starts. He's given up a combined 6 runs across 8 innings in his last 2 starts, 5 walks in those starts as well. He's always been someone that has had a walks per 9 rate that's been a little bit north of 3. So I do think that this is a good circumstance here for the Seattle Mariners to be able to pick up a W. I did set my total at 8.6 because George Kirby, with him not issuing a lot of walks, that does keep the ball in the zone for the Philadelphia Phillies, who do a good job of moving the line to be able to jump on top of it. But I do think that the Mariners are going to be able to get to Strahm. I think that they're going to be able to get into this bullpen as well. So looking at this total over, set my total at 8.6. I'm willing to lay up to a minus 113 with the Seattle Mariners. So looking at the M's on the money line, and that will wrap things up for the Thursday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. A big thanks to Andrew Caley over at Covers for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, the Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of 2 ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter timeline at G9_41. Keep in mind, letters EM. They mean does not matter, so as per usual, please just send these into the timeline. Other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball season. That means I'm coming at you once again tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in.